Hi students, welcome to the lesson Colors and their significance in Indian visual communication. The lesson explains the significance of colors in Indian life and how it explains the various facets of the Indian culture, religious, spiritual and social lives such as traditions, constituting the core of visual communication. In fact, there are two major approaches to the colors. One is a de-westernized approach or a national approach, and another is the western approach. This lesson first explains the de-westernized approach and later swiftly moves to the western approach. An understanding of the multiple facets of the colors is central to the learning of the visual communication. A student of visual communication must have knowledge of both the approaches to the subject of colors. Such knowledge is highly helpful in innovatively using the colors in visual communication. To inform and enlighten the learners about both the de-westernized and westernized approaches to the colors, to inform how color becomes a meaningful context in Indian life, how the colors signify the Indian way of life irrespective of regions and religions, what makes an understanding of colors in the Indian context a most aesthetic spectacle of Indian life, how colors represent various rituals in Indian life with reference to South India and North India, how common man in Indian life feels colors as an important representative of their sentiments and feelings. A de-westernized approach or Indian approach as a nation. In fact, the Indian life is replete with the colors. A cursory look at Indian flag tells us how meaningful even our national flag is. It may not be with India alone, but many countries among the 201 nations under the UN have embedded a lot of meaning in the colors of their national flags. In some cases, the colors reveal diversity, while in other cases, national flags offer tribute to the warriors of the nation. In the case of India, the national flag offers the national spirit which binds the entire country into one entity of philosophy, though there is a lot of diversity in such interpretation of various cultures across 29 states in India. I will come to this aspect again at the appropriate time in this chapter. Therefore, the colors constitute enticing subject as far as their significance in each and every walk of life of an Indian, whether one lives in the rural or in the urban area. It is all a matter of color, even politically or sociologically or religiously. India represents the highest diversity in this area and thus constitutes a core subject of visual communication. Perhaps no other text or of visual communication has dealt with so far. The history of colors in Indian culture dates back to Vedic and subsequent times in the ancient India. The mention of haldi, pasupu in Telugu, sindhur or kunkum, kunkuma in Telugu, rice powder for rangoli, muggulu or rangavalulu in Telugu, pasupu akshintalu, kunkuma akshintalu was prevalent in Vedic texts as well as in Ramayana and Mahabharata. The reason for mentioning it in particular here is to suggest that use of these colors in modern times is in continuation of the ancient yajna or homa rituals during the Vedic times. The women of Maharishis or Munis of those times sported sindhur on their forehead. In those times, the sporting of kunkuma on the frontal part of the face of a woman was not a practice. The women in those times have applied haldi or gandham, a scented yellowish powder or paste, to their face both before and after their baths. Even the rishis and munis in those times have applied these haldi, sindhur or gandham to the gods such as Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, besides offering these to the demigods known as Ashtadikpalaka such as Indra, Varuna, Agni, Vayu, etc. This clearly establishes the fact that colors are accorded a significant status in Indian rituals since the ancient times that continues to flow to the modern times even into today's rituals, such as yajnas, homas, marriages and upanayanams, gruha pravesams, both ceremonies and funerals, etc. The Vedic texts have clearly assigned various colors to gods, demigods and Ashtadikpalakas, etc. For instance, the color of the demigod Lord Yama is black, while the demigod Varuna color is red. Similarly, Navagrahas comprising the sun, the moon, the Saturn, the Buddha, the Guru, the Shukra and the Kuja are also given specific colors. Based on these colors, the astrologers of ancient times prescribed a specific color stone, pearl or diamond to wear on one's fingers to compensate the astrological deficiencies arising from the sight of these Navagrahas. It is altogether a different matter whether one believes in the existence of gods, demigods, Ashtadikpalakas and Navagrahas. It is, however, important from the science standpoint of view that our ancient people were aware of colors, their significance and use in various contexts as prescribed by different rituals or texts during those times. It is about this awareness that we should be proud of, as even modern science eulogize medicinal values of haldi and gandham etc. in day-to-day application of them by the human beings. In fact, the modern advertisements are fully exploiting the word ancient times to validate the noble medical qualities of various plants and their extracts besides the haldi and gandham. For example, the advertisement of facial creams and cosmetic soaps comfortably state that the knowledge they used in preparing these cosmetics has stemmed from the ancient texts ranging from Vedic times to modern research in Ayurvedic laboratories of reputed pharmaceutical companies. After Vedic times, the Bhagavatam, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata offered various descriptions of gods such as Vishnu, Brahma and Shiva, besides Rama, Sita, Hanuman and Krishna etc., associating each god with a color. For instance, Lord Vishnu is given the description of Neela Megha, Shyam, sky colored person, and Shiva, grey colored body. Even Lord Krishna and Lord Rama are described to be in the same color of Vishnu, as the latter has reincarnated as Lord Rama and Lord Krishna to protect Dharma in different times following Krita Yuga. Here our emphasis on the colors and how they are associated with Indian religious and spiritual texts. Going by the descriptions of colors in the various texts from the ancient times, it becomes evident that the prolific mention of colors in these texts is not always indicative of good. Some colors signified the evil, while some colors glorified the virtue, victory or good. In these texts, Indian cinema offered touching frames associated with these colors both as signifiers of evil and good. For instance, the scene or frames showing ruddiness of the setting sun on sea or river waters is associated with the murder of a hero or a prominent person in the narrative of a film. Similarly, the scenes or frames showing the ruddiness of this rising sun in the morning over the sea or rivers inspire a new hope, a new turn in the life of a hero or people of the narrative of a particular village. Such scenes get intensely emotional, followed by a music such as Bhupala Raga etc. In fact, the ancient religious and spiritual Indian texts described semiotically the 7 colors as the 7 horses of the Lord Sun. These texts also described the rainbow reflecting 7 colors as Indradhanus, attributing it to the demigod Lord Indra. In fact, colors are associated with the dresses of gods and goddesses. Each color is associated with each god's dress, indicating a particular mood or state of posture of the god or goddesses. Devi Bhagavatam attributes different colors saris to the goddess Shakti at various points of her leelas and adventures. For instance, during the Navaratri celebrations of goddess Durga or Kali, there would be a designated sari and decoration to the goddess each day. All the 9 days, the mother goddess Durga thus would give her darshan in different forms and postures with different names each day. The ancient literary, religious and spiritual texts describe the flowers, their colors and their roles in the spiritual progress or in the religious rituals in a number of ways. Not only the colors are associated with the flowers, but also with the fruits. In other words, without the description of colors associated with the flowers, fruits, dresses and the body complexion of the gods, demigods, Ashtadikpalakas, Navagrahas, the Indian literature comprising rituals, religious and spiritual texts is incomplete. Another important dimension of the colors of the flowers is that the latter having specific colors are considered as the seats of goddesses. For instance, the seat of the goddess Lakshmi, one who bestows money and material prosperity to the humans, is seated in red color lotus. At the same time, the goddess Lakshmi, seated in a white lotus, bestows spiritual progress to its devotees. In fact, the color of the goddess Lakshmi is itself glorified as golden, Hiranyavarnam. Patanjali Yoga Sutras, doctrines or principles of Raja Yoga, describe the white lotus situated in the region of human brain, and it could be realized only through sustained and assiduous yoga practice that ultimately leads to the liberation of life from cycle of birth and rebirth. Further, the Bhagavad Gita describes the nature of 3 gunas, Trigunas as Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, that bind the human being to ego, inspiring him or her to always indulge in some physical or psychological karmas, activities that may result in acquisition of the sins or good deeds. That said, the Sattva guna is associated with white color, Rajas guna with red color and Tamas guna is associated with black color. Similarly, the yellow color is associated with holiness, sanctity attached to the particular form of spiritual or ritual activity. Some ritual texts, Agama Sastras, strictly follow use of different colors of flowers on different occasions to perform the worship of certain gods. While worshipping gods with flowers is not so prevalent in the north, it is a very big event in the south. However, decorating gods with garlands of flowers is commonly found in north as much as in south. But the women in the south wear flowers garlands in their hair tresses, while none will wear flowers in the north. Let us start with the constitution of a meaning in tricolors of the Indian national flag. It is Pingali Venkayya, a Telugu citizen and a freedom fighter of this country, that has designed this tricolor flag, which initially served as a party flag or Swaraj flag of the Indian National Congress. Gandhiji first proposed a flag to the Indian National Congress in 1921. The flag was designed by Pingali Venkayya. In the center was a traditional spinning wheel symbolizing Gandhi's goal of making India self-reliant by fabricating their own clothing. The design was then modified to include a white stripe in the center for other religious communities and provide a background for the spinning wheel. Subsequently, to avoid sectarian association with the color scheme, saffron, white and green were chosen for the three bands representing courage and sacrifice, peace and truth, and faith and chivalry respectively. Bhagwa or the saffron denotes renunciation or disinterestedness. Our leaders must be indifferent to the material gains and dedicate themselves to their work. The white in the center is light, the path of the truth to guide our conduct. The green shows our relation to the soil, our relation to the plant life here on which all other life depends. The Ashoka Chakra in the center of the white is the wheel of the law of dharma. Truth or satya, dharma or virtue ought to be the controlling principle of those who work under this flag. Again, the wheel denotes motion. There is death in stagnation. Though several freedom fighters have hastened to develop their own vision embedding the national spirit in different colors in their innovative flags, two prominent proposed national flags have come under serious consideration of Indian National Congress. The one prepared by Bikaji Kama and the one prepared by Pingali Venkayya. Finally, it was at the National Congress Committee meeting in 1921 that the flag designed by Pingali Venkayya was unanimously accepted, which continued to be party flag till 1947. The Constituent Assembly formed to recommend the national flag has ultimately chosen the design of the Venkayya with some modifications that resulted in today's Indian national flag. As a student of visual communication, it is imperative to know not only the story behind the tricolor national flag, but also its measurements. There is a flag code of India. It is a law enacted by the Parliament. Therefore, any student who designs a national flag on a computer screen for a flex printing should know the measurements and the brightness levels of the three colors in the national flag. In short, the scientific description of the national flag is as follows. The national flag of India is a horizontal rectangular color of tricolor of India with saffron, white and Indian green, showing the Ashoka Chakra, a 24 spoke wheel in navy blue at its center. It was adopted in its present form during a meeting of the Constituent Assembly held on 22nd July 1947, and it became the official flag of the Dominion of India on 15th August 1947. Note that the values given in the table correspond to CIE 1931 color space. Approximate RGB values for use may be taken to be Indian saffron #FF9933, white #FFFFFF, 6 Fs, Indian green #138808, navy blue #00080, 6 Pantone values closest to this area 130U, white 2258C and 2735C. The Indian philosophy teaches us about how to live or lead life of renunciation, that means to remain detached while involving oneself in the worldly activities or chores, working or performing karmas, one's own duties towards one's own family, society and nation with a sense of detachment is the nature of sattva guna as described in the Gita. The saffron color basically advocates doing one's duty without anticipating anything in return. The white color implies the purity of the hearts and the minds required for building a strong nation above narrow parochial tendencies. It also absorbs all other communities, faiths and religions into it, just as white color is a product of all 7 colors of VGR, the visible spectrum of light. The green color represents the conscience of environment and greenery. It includes the collective conscience of the farmers who toil themselves night and day for providing food to the people of nation. Rabindranath Tagore has said in his famous Gitanjali that God is there in the sweat of the farmers, tilling the soil and sowing the seeds. In short, the national flag, what we host proudly, represents the collective conscience of entire India based on both socio-cultural and philosophical tenets that bind entire India into one entity. Similarly, national symbols are also associated with the colors. All those animate and inanimate objects declared as national symbols are present in wonderful colors. Peacock is considered as our national bird. As a student of visual communication, you might be aware how beautiful peacock looks. What wonderful combination of colors that peacock is made up of is beyond anybody's imagination. It is nature's blessing to peacock undoubtedly. An indigo green combination body of peacock as a tail which spreads into a beautiful fan when it becomes cloudy and pleasant for it to dance. Peacock is also associated with Lord Subramanya as his holy vehicle in the south. Indian banyan Ficus bengalensis roots themselves to form new trees and grow over large areas. Because of this characteristic and its longevity, this tree is considered immortal and is an integral part of the myths and legends of India. The Gita describes this tree as Aswadha Vriksha, Aswadha tree, and it is compared to the inverted Aswadha tree in our human body with its roots upward in the head attached to the senses, engrossed in sucking and enjoying the worldly matters. Like the roots of the actual Aswadha tree keep sucking water and minerals from the soil, its stem is compared to the spinal cord in which an invisible hole is located, visible to spiritually enlightened self-realized souls, through which the Kundalini Shakti passes upward to the head region and merges with Almighty seated in the 1000 petals lotus in the head region. According to Raja Yoga, this is the point of culmination of Jivatma with Paramatma that leads to the liberation of one's life from the cycle of birth and rebirth. By knowing the above meanings embedded in various colors and symbols, a visual communication student is firmly rooted in Indian context, religion, philosophy and spirituality that would enable him or her to depict any idea in multiple ways. The rural India is in itself a pasture of greenery. If it is a season of cultivation, the abundance of greenery is beyond one's description. India is an agriculture dependent country. A majority of 60 to 70% population lives in rural India. The rural India produces the food such as rice, paddy, wheat, grains, cereals and millets, besides fruits and vegetables that cater to entire India. Rural India state-wise is replete with its own prioritization of own crops, vegetables, fruits that embrace the horticulture also in its widest sense according to its climatic conditions. For instance, in Assam, huge bell trees, agely marvelous, are found everywhere. Its fruits and leaves are used in the worship of Lord Shiva. Festivities are celebrated in association with different colors, manifesting in the form of dresses, costumes, decorations with natural products such as coconut plants or banana plants with different seasonal flowers, creepers, fruits, etc. Especially the flower decoration, creepers with flowers decorating coconut or banana plants standing as pillars on either side of the dais offer a colorful spectacle and motivate the native people to dance, sing and perform other local folk arts, etc. Most of the times, the dresses worn by the native populations will be unique and specially designed and variegated. Look at the Bihu dance in Assam or Onam dance in Kerala or Bathukamma dance in Telangana. These dances are still fully colored with respect to dances and dancers' dress code. On the other hand, the urban life offers a different spectrum of cultural festivities. Greenery is scarcely found in the urban centers. Unless the cities are planned, say Chandigarh, greenery in cities is a casualty. Artificial decorations with plastic colors fill the space. As majority urbanites are immigrants from the rural part of India, some of them may get the required greenery for the decoration of dais, etc. from their native villages or places. Otherwise, artificiality and industry made colors fill the lives of the urban populations. Even if they wish to bring nativity to their festivals, the cost of the festivities is sky soaring and beyond the reach of many middle and lower middle class families. The urban festivities are noisier than their counterpart, wonderful rural festivities that fill the space and hearts with different cynosural colors. The history of colors in the West began with the discovery of Isaac Newton that the sunlight is made of 7 colors, namely violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange and red, Vibgyor. Till that time, people of the world that side have no idea how white light could be a source of 7 different colors. To them, the multiple colors seen in the nature looked independent and originated from somewhere the mystic heavens. Prior to Newton, the West seemed to have no known culture of wide use of colors in their day-to-day lives, either religiously or traditionally. The ancient literature of the West, either from Greeks or Latin, has no much mention about the semiotic significance of colors in various rituals or traditions. The Greek Orthodox Christian Church has no much appreciation for the wide use of colors, flowers or fruits or dresses in their religious or spiritual activities. Neither the women nor did the gods there wear different colors of flowers. In fact, the selling of flowers before church does not exist. Even dead bodies are not covered by floral wreaths as we Indians do. Even philosophically, there is no much mention of flowers or colors and their correlation to spiritual concepts. With regard to marriages, the church has adopted a white dress for the bride. Even if they use flowers in certain contexts such as bridal procession, the flowers are scentless croton flowers or plastic flowers. Although Aristotle and other ancient scientists had already written on the nature of light and color vision, it was not until Newton that light was identified as the source of color sensation. In 1810, Goethe documented a meta-theoretical work, namely Theory of Colors. He described the physiological effects to colors that are now considered as psychological. In 1801, Thomas Young proposed a trichromatic theory based on the observation that any color could be matched with a combination of 3 lights. Later, James Clerk Maxwell and Hermann von Helmholtz refined it. Helmholtz writes, the principle of Newton's law of mixture was experimentally confirmed by Maxwell. In 1856, Young's theory of color sensations, like so much else that this marvelous investigator achieved in advance of his time, remained unnoticed until Maxwell directed attention to it. The Western approach to colors is thus divided into 2 major parts. One is how the eye receives the colors and another is how the color sensation occurs. Subsequent to Newton's discovery, a lot of research centered round on the colors. Out of the 7 colors, the light splits into when it refracted through a prism. The scientists have identified 3 colors as primary colors, namely red, green and blue, RGB color space. Rest of the colors is considered as an additive colors, CMYK color space. The underlying principle of this significant categorization is that one can produce any of these 7 colors by combining any 2 of the primary colors. Similarly, by mixing any 1 or 2 of the additive colors, one can produce any other color that is not part of the Vibgyor. Today, modern systems of Photoshop easily allow both of these 2 categorizations of colors. This perception of color derives from the stimulation of cone cells in the human eye by electromagnetic radiation in the visible spectrum. Color categories and physical specifications of color are associated with objects through the wavelength of the light that is reflected from them. This reflection is governed by the object's physical properties such as light absorption, emission, spectra, etc. The chapter has explained how colors and Indian life are entwined with each other. Perhaps the explanation given in the cultural approach to colors reveals that no nation in the world except India has so extensive application of colors in almost all walks of life. Colors in India are both semiotic and materialistic. It stands for explaining many that cannot be explained in words. Indian life is thus full of colors. Colors mean so much to an Indian.